Good morning. My name's Elizabeth Garvish, and you're here with us on Beyond the Border, a radio show about all things immigration. We're here once a month, every second Saturday, generally, and I'm here with two other immigration experts in the Atlanta area. I'm Elizabeth, and I do business and family immigration. I'm located here in Atlanta, Georgia. I have a little boutique law firm, and I'm here with two other experts. And you guys can introduce yourself.
I am Melaney LaGronne. I am a immigration defense attorney. So my firm, we handle immigration and criminal defense matters here in Atlanta, Georgia.
And I'm Joanna Delfunt. I have my own practice as well, Delfunt Law Firm in Cumming, Georgia. I do removal defense and family-based immigration.
Okay, so I guess we're going to get down to business. What we talk about on this show is maybe the latest things that are going on in immigration. We as immigration lawyers are on the, we're seeing things as they happen day to day and experiencing. I feel like, going 2 years, are we in our 2 years into the Trump, we're on our third year in the Trump administration, seeing the changes that have happened and kind of experiencing that level of frustration and the changes that have happened. And I kind of wanted to talk, I think we talk about this every time, but, what we're experiencing now, kind of what's happened in the last month, how we're handling that. I feel like we're having to practice law in a different way. And what I just shared with everyone this morning before we started was that I feel like I can't solve things anymore. Probably in my last 20 years of practice, I always could fix everything. And the frustration of not being able to do that, if the client wanted it, at least, we would go fight hard, figure it out. And now I'm kind of coming up against walls that seemed like I can't, figuratively, I can't get over. I can't break down. I can't get through. So that's unfortunately, I don't want this to be my therapy session today, but that's how I feel. And I know everyone kind of feels the same way. And I know, maybe part of this is like, coming together and how are we going to fight, keep fighting, keep moving forward, advise our clients better, take new paths and that kind of thing. So we're going to discuss what's going on new in immigration, during this last beginning of 2019. We've got a lot of new things that are kind of happening in the business immigration area. And I know I want you all to talk about what's going on with removal, with criminal issues, and what you're seeing in your practices. So, and if you have any other topics you want to talk about. So, and if you guys want to call in, that'd be great. Our number is 678-619-1402, or you can, message us on Facebook and all of that stuff. And YouTube. Okay, so we'll get that information out to you. Sorry. But how are you feeling? As we go into, we're like now almost into we're in the first quarter, almost done with the first quarter of 2019. Are things getting any better? Are things getting worse? What are you seeing?
Well, I feel like I need to sit on someone's couch as well. It just seems like everything is hard. I am second guessing myself all the time. I deal with a lot of cases where, a non-U.S. citizen has some sort of criminal, background, and he might want to naturalize or, adjust. And just to sit there and take the time to figure out if this is going to, trigger any sort of immigration consequence, are they going to be put in removal proceedings if we move forward? I never want to say yes, go ahead and let's do it.
Right.
I've had a lot of people come in. I need to send some of those to you, or I need to call you up because I refer a lot of the criminal issues out, but I've had a lot of people come in, and it's criminal immigration. Like even the most minor offense could trigger consequences. So
Very
it's
serious
scary,
one.
right? It scares me when
Absolutely.
people come in and they're kind of. Some people, our clients, are nonchalant. I had one that was convicted of visa fraud, or not visa. It was like a visa fraud scheme, federal conviction. And he was like, yeah, when can I apply for naturalization? And I'm like,
Probably never.
the next one. And he's like, well, the federal prosecutor said it's fine. And I'm like, I don't think the federal prosecutor probably cares about whether you can apply for naturalization or the immigration benefits at all. It was one of the F1 school schemes. There was a fake school.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, somewhere, I think in New Jersey. And then another guy came in and he had a trafficking of marijuana. So that wasn't just, but I think it might have been some misdemeanor offense of trafficking, but is that even gonna, I don't know. So
I don't even think there's a misdemeanor trafficking.
okay.
I don't either.
I think there was like a little, like, it was
been reduced.
Probably.
It was
reduced to.
It was a
lesser included.
scary, it's a scary scenario that I didn't want to take on. I mean, I looked at, I know enough to be dangerous, but if I make a mistake, it really,
I know it costs them everything.
it worries me.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, I'm just like, okay, we need to, because it's, and then you take on these, if you're not an expert in criminal immigration and you don't do that every day, then, I mean, I know what I know.
Right.
Certain things, I'm like, that's going to be fine. But certain cases where you really have to look at the statute and you have to figure things out, it could be inadmissible, but it's deportable, and
Right.
all of these things.
Exactly.
And then I had another guy, but he went through the deferred adjudication where, I mean, when you go through those deferred adjudication things, and it says at the end after probation, this was like 1 ounce or a small amount of marijuana. There's no adjudication of guilt on those findings. How does immigration look at those?
Well, if he admitted to it, so if he actually took a plea and admitted to the charges, then it can still be a conviction for immigration purposes.
Okay.
So that's the difference between if there was like a pretrial diversion where you don't even have to go in front of the judge and say, I
with
did
no
it.
guilty plea.
I
Right.
think this might have been that. I'm not sure. The
Then
pretrial
if-
diversion program.
But even sometimes the pretrials, different counties will want them to plead guilty.
Exactly.
And especially if it was old and they didn't have an awesome immigration attorney.
This is
representing.
recent. This is recent.
Yeah.
But he's a green card holder. And then, the question was travel.
Right. Because when he comes back, I have a lot of LPR clients in removal proceedings because they get caught they got caught coming back in.
yeah.
And then, they're being told they're inadmissible. So they're going to have to go to immigration court. And I did a consult with a daughter recently where she had to go pick up
Was
his
there
car.
some kind of adjudication? Like, was there a pretrial diversion?
No, it was just a guilty plea.
I feel like I need to go back and look at that.
Yeah, look at it because they care about if a guilty plea was entered. And then I have a lot of clients where they'll come in and say, "Well, I got first offender."
Oh,
No.
Yeah, that's a conviction
That's a
for
conviction.
immigration
Right,
purposes.
right.
Because even though it was dismissed, or will be
Right.
dismissed, it was a plea of guilt.
because if it says on the final disposition, no adjudication of guilt, there was no whatever like that. So
Look at it.
Then
look
they
at it
should
real
be fine, yeah.
I'm
carefully.
gonna look at it
And look at
again.
the transcript
I'm
too.
gonna send that to you.
Yes. Because
That'll tell you right
I
there.
request a copy of the transcript from the court
okay.
because a lot of times they'll read through every single thing and every single question with the defendant, and they'll say, "Are you admitting guilt? Have you been advised of your immigration?
Yeah.
That there could be immigration consequences." So you want to have that because that is actually something
It
that
helps a lot.
complicated one of my
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah, because I wasn't hired for that. I was hired because the naturalization he was pulled out of the line for naturalization.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah, send them over to me. I'll help. Of course.
Yeah,
I'll
let
look
her
at
look
it
at that
for you,
part.
and
Yeah.
then
yeah,
I
I don't want him to travel.
just to be safe,
and then-
right?
Well, and I think at this point, like you said, I mean,
He's dying to travel to the. He's a DJ. He's got to travel to the Caribbean and DJ. So,
Well,
He's got to make some money.
Well, if you want to come back.
Because we told him no travel until there's like a final. But that wasn't, so anyway, it's scary. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Go ahead and talk about what else you're seeing.
That's pretty much everything.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I try to let everyone know you just have to be careful. You just have to be diligent. You can't think that even being a permanent resident alien, you just can't think that you're safe.
Right.
With anything.
Right.
We can get away with a driving without a license or a DUI or, a misdemeanor marijuana, whatever,
Exactly.
You can't.
I know. There's so much less grace if you're not a U.S. citizen. There's so many more consequences. And then I think a lot of times LPRs especially, and just for anyone who's listening that doesn't know a lot of the lingo that we're using, LPR is for legal permanent resident, which is just is somebody who has a green card and they're not a citizen. But LPRs particularly, I think they live in they think that they live in a protected bubble and almost view themselves as citizens. And then like Elizabeth's saying, they travel. And when they're coming back into the United States, even if their conviction wouldn't have made them deportable had they not left, it can make them inadmissible by coming back in. Like a possession for drugs, right? Like minor possession wouldn't have made them deportable. But now they have a conviction of a controlled substance, so it makes them inadmissible. And then if they're inadmissible, they're going to have to be in removal proceedings, and we have to prove to a judge that they should be allowed to stay here. And I've got a few of those, and it's complicated and it's confusing for people because they recognize with common sense that it was a very minor, very, very minor incident that could have been 10 years ago when they were young and stupid. And now they're fathers and they have young children and they have full-time jobs, and it's an amazing shock to the entire family that this man could now be deported for possession. Yeah,
and that's what's huge about it. They've established their life and family and everything, and
the weight of the consequences of the smallest situations. Well, like Elizabeth was saying at the beginning, feeling like you can't solve problems anymore. I say all the time that as lawyers, we're professional problem solvers, and it is, I would say I'm a perfectionist, which I struggle with, especially at work, because, I want every single document from my clients, and I want to prove that they're eligible for a certain benefit with everything that I can possibly have for them. And in this administration, perfectionism is almost required in order to protect your clients as best as possible. And even then, even if you're perfect, there are still going to be issues that arise that you can't control. And like Elizabeth was saying with her client that got the approval at USCIS and then the denial at the consulate, I feel like I can do absolutely everything. Not that I can even do the best application or the best packet or the best representation that I've ever done. I can be the best that this person could have gotten. I will stay up. I will, kill it for this client. I will make sure that I have everything prepared, and something that I've never seen before can go completely awry because there's so much disorganization. There's so much chaos with USCIS and with court that you really feel like you don't even know which way's up anymore. You can't solve the simplest problem, and it requires constant.
Yeah, you think you're coming up with a great solution for your client. In my instance, what I was, we had this, they're a New York client. They have like several offices, and they had kind of a work study intern that came on a J1, which I think might have been the issue. That they met through this, she had a work permit to do work in her field. So she comes after her graduation to do like a travel and not study, travel work, J1 exchange visitor visa. So they met her that way. And then they wanted to send her, she was amazing in marketing, and they wanted to get her up to speed on their software and all their offerings and send her abroad. So I was like, oh, that's great. H3 trainee. So that's a specific visa that you have a detailed training program. You're training someone on the job with your classroom and on the job training. And then the purpose of it is to train them to send them abroad, to a subsidiary abroad, or just do something, it doesn't have to be a subsidiary. It could be something else, but lots of big corporate companies have these programs. We got that visa approved in like 3 days at USCIS. We were super excited. Wow. I was like, yeah. And then she's Irish. I mean, she's like, well, I'm going home. I have a huge family, my Irish family. I'm going home. And I advised her of that. I didn't advise a change of status. I was like, well, that's great. Yeah, she's like, I really want to be home for Christmas. I have my godchildren. I mean, I have, and all my family. I have my little brothers and sisters, and I was like, okay, fine. In January, you just make your appointment at the consulate, and they were just horrible to her. If they want to employ you, then they need to just get you a work visa. Don't like go there to like you're training, and is this denial based on Buy American, Hire American? Is it based on she doesn't have enough ties to her country? I think maybe she was already there on the J1, so. I don't know.
But now she can't come back?
Well, I mean, we tried twice. We tried Dublin, and we tried, where's the other consulate? What's the other consulate in Ireland? Another city in Ireland. And so I don't know. I'm going through the senator. I don't know what to do. I'm almost like, I mean, maybe we could reapply. I mean, it's for 18 months.
Right.
We reapply down the road. I'm at a loss. Yeah. I tell the client, spend more money and do an H-1B or try to do a green card. I mean, they're like, we already spent all this money. I mean, like, what the heck? So yeah, it's like, every time I've had a visa denial, like I was able to like either bolster the package, send them back, or, kind of talk to the consulate and get it approved. And this one we couldn't. And then I had another one that domestic worker for a U.S. expat. So it's a family that's a U.S. citizen family living abroad, and they have a nanny that has worked with them. And they are subject to reassignment within the next 4 years, possibly. And there's certain requirements, but it's a B1 domestic worker, which just means it's a visitor visa, but you can work and you can apply for a work permit, and you work and basically can accompany this expat family on foreign travels. And that was what they needed. Was they travel a lot. They're probably going to spend the summer in London, and they need her on the flights. Yeah. They want continuity of care to their children.
Right.
They've had rapport with this person. I mean, I have small children, you have small children. We know that how important it is who's caring for our children. And so the first time she went, to Slovakia, they said, no, they have to hire a U.S. worker. You can work for them in London. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. This visa is for... And then she proactively, and I emailed the consulate, and I got one response from the consul chief, because I didn't have the G28. It was like, sign the G28. So I can't talk to them unless she has a signed G28. So, I could never get back to him. I sent him the G28 immediately, but she was on her way to go to London. They're like, okay, we're going to London, then we're going to file in London. I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but let me work it out with Slovakia. But they went and just got ripped apart at London. So you worked without authorization when you came on an ESTA, because she went on an ESTA, which is a visa waiver visa. So she came when the family moved with them. So they're saying that, and yeah, so I don't know.
So normally, would this be an issue?
I've never had a B1 domestic worker ever denied before. I've never had a visa denied that I did not get approved after a second application, ever. So now we're looking, 2019 is looking like it's...
And it's not, just for clarity for other people too, that's not you being a trickster. That's you being a good advocate and a good lawyer and knowing how to prepare documentation for your clients.
I mean,
so even still doing the same thing.
You have pre-approval with the H3. So they have to say either this person has immigrant intent, or you're not, or this visa is not, you don't qualify for this visa. But they didn't send it back. I mean, they just kind of, or they may have hung their hat on Buy American, Hire American.
Yeah.
Which is like, get American instead. And that's maybe what they did for both of these. Or it's like, there's like this catch-all denial. You don't know why they deny it. So you scramble and try to figure it out. But so with H3, it's like, it's already pre-approved. There shouldn't be an issue. And I've already had one. I've done one where he was here on another type of visa and then he went back and came back in. I don't know. And then the B1 domestic worker, you have to bring all your stuff to the consulate and they have to adjudicate you there. But this person has been to the U.S. maybe one time. I mean, maybe like twice. It's not, has lots of ties to Europe. But it's the craziest thing is what I hate when they're, when I've got like, okay, I've got my consular appointment in Europe. And then so that means that I wake up at like, if I wake up at 5 or 6 and I get that email in the morning or whatever, whatever time I wake up and after the denial, I get that email. Like it's happened now 4 times this year. So when it's never happened to me before, I've never had those issues and I'm just like, what do I do? And then you're just like, your day starts like, okay, I don't know. And now I'm just like, who do I even, I can't get any, I've emailed the Slovakian consul chief, like I got one response and then I've just crickets.
Yeah.
And the client's like, what do I do? And so that's why I feel a little bit just
like you need therapy.
Yeah,
that couch.
I actually started to go to the therapist last year because I said I have this I'm in a happy place in my life. Like I have beautiful children and everything's going well, and I can't let all of this stuff that's going on that's not my life get to me emotionally. Yeah. I got to be strong for my clients, got to be able to handle all of that. So it's actually good for me to do that because I can be a better lawyer to my clients. Because I think a lot of times lawyers need to take care of themselves. Part of self-care would be, of course, exercise and getting sleep and eating proper diet, but emotional health as well. So I proactively do that. If there's an issue, I think it's good just to do that. But because there's some days when I'm like, whoa, I cannot deal with this. And it's because we care a lot.
Exactly. We wouldn't feel this way if we didn't absolutely care for
we
our
care
clients.
a lot about, I honestly wish I could help everybody that comes in my office. I'm just like, I want to, and half the time, there are so many times when I'm like, okay, I'll do that pro bono. Just let me help you.
I know.
I don't know.
Especially with criminal removal.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm doing I'm going to do pro bono for the...
Yeah, I know, right? Yes.
Yeah, it's like this, it's been, the last 2 times, it's been a couple churches that are sponsoring people for work visa or green cards.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, okay, I'll just do my part pro bono. Because the employer has to pay. But because it's the only option for people. And then you see people that you're like, wow, you're so amazing. I have just some really neat people that have come across my path and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could help more. But it's after a while, that's our time is money. So you're like, how much? Okay, that's $20,000. That's this much. So it's we have to
you have to run a business.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to do that. But I think giving back is always a good way. I think as much as you give, you get back.
Absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
There's a point. With self-care, you need to manage things and find a balance and all of that. But, so that's kind of, stemming from, that those consular denials where I'm like, let's reapply, let's do this, and nothing. Yeah. I don't know. I can't get in touch with anybody. I can't discuss the case. There's crickets. It's just okay, that's basically how it is at USCIS too now.
Oh gosh, yes.
Which we'll talk about in a minute. But, it's always been that way with the Department of Labor, no contact. USCIS now, there's no way to even the local offices to get with anybody. But you want to talk about what's going on with USCIS?
What's that?
So at USCIS, a way that, and in the past, so I feel a little bit upset with myself for posting a video a few months ago complaining about the InfoPass system months ago, because in the past, what an InfoPass appointment is with the USCIS, which is basically where all applications get filed with immigration. So green card applications, work permit applications, TPS, affirmative asylum, family-based petitions, everything gets filed with USCIS. Naturalization, so citizenship applications get filed with USCIS. So often people say, my citizenship application's been pending forever. Or I already went to the interview and now I haven't heard anything. And it's been a year or 2 years. Or my father petitioned for me and it's just sitting there and I haven't gotten an update. And the petition was filed 5 years ago. I don't know if it was approved. And people come to you after the fact, so you don't have information on their file yet. So obviously USCIS won't talk to you about the case. But even aside from that, even if it's a case that you have been the attorney for from the beginning, and you're not getting, you file the case inquiries online, you're not getting a response back from anyone on what's going on in this case, or you get a generic, we're working on it, it's pending kind of thing. You could go onto the USCIS website and schedule an InfoPass appointment so that you could go in person to a USCIS office, and in the lobby there were kind of a U shape of desks, and there were people standing there, and they would call your number when they were ready, and you could go up and ask a USCIS officer that does specifically InfoPasses what's going on in this particular case. So it was so helpful because instead of submitting a case inquiry online where you have no idea when someone's going to look at it, if someone's going to look at it, you kind of feel like you're just shooting it out into like white noise basically. You could walk up to a human, look at a human's eyes, and say, this is what's going on in this case. Here's the receipt number. This has been pending for 5 years, or they had a citizenship interview a year ago and they haven't taken their oath yet. What's going on? You could bring the applicant. Mm-hmm. You could say, I need to speak with the supervisor if you don't have an answer for me, but I need an answer. You could get something accomplished, right? Just like we were talking about. That
sometimes, but definitely there were times you can get stuff. I've gotten stuff done.
Yes, me too.
But not always.
No, sometimes you're really met with.
Sometimes I'm like, I've turned things around, and I'm like, oh my God, it's I mean,
I know it's so true. But because it was possible, not all the time, but because it was possible, you do it because we're advocates, and I will do whatever it takes. Well, in the past, you could. You could schedule an InfoPass appointment with ease. And then, and there would be several available. And then in recent years, it became there are none available.
Then you have to get up at midnight. You have to wait till midnight, which is fine. We'll wait till midnight. It's fine.
It's fine. It's not like I'm a human. Yeah. And I have little children and I have work in the morning.
I could never stay up. I'd have my assistant do it. But.
I just stay up. But I also, because my kids are so young, I mean, you probably feel this way too. After they go to sleep, I kind of feel like it's my time to be an adult. Woo! It's my free time. I'm going to eat a piece of chocolate cake or something at 10 p.m. I will wait up till midnight if I have to, But anyway, you stay up until midnight. And even then, a lot of times there wasn't an InfoPass appointment available, so it was wasted time spending up till midnight. I think for one InfoPass, one time I stayed up 4 nights in a row until midnight to try to find an appointment. But I feel a little bit like a brat for complaining about that a few months ago because InfoPass appointments can no longer be scheduled online at all. The system's been completely taken away. And my understanding is that also the entire InfoPass area at USCIS is empty. InfoPass officers are no longer even there. That's empty. Or it's no longer available for InfoPasses. I think what they're doing actually, which is a complete violation of client confidentiality, and I see a lot of lawsuits coming. I don't know if you've heard this about naturalization. You want to tell us?
Supposedly it's a pilot program.
Yeah.
And I have a naturalization interview on Monday.
Oh, so. You have to tell me. Or post how it goes.
Okay, I will. Yeah. It's just where you're doing, I guess you check in downstairs. So before you would check in and you would go into the privacy of an office. Sometimes the door would be open, but you wouldn't be out in an open area giving your private information and taking your test.
No.
And doing all of those things.
No.
I mean, I've had so many clients that are so nervous.
So nervous.
They cannot even function.
I know.
And I'm like, I look at them. I can't write a sentence in English. I mean, not so many, but I'm just saying, like, there's a couple where I'm like, really? You've got to be kidding me. But they're just nervous. They're scared
so
and worried, and I understand. But so now they've got to stand at a counter and do their test in front of, like,
it's like
the whole waiting room.
It's a good way to describe it because it's like,
oh, right, exactly.
Just like the counter. It's kind of like that.
So you do your biometrics. I guess you do your photo and biometrics, and then you'll go over, and then you're called to a counter, which you have to stand and do your test, and get asked your questions, and
they're asking you questions off your application.
Oh, I don't know. Are they asking off the application? But I thought then you go upstairs to do your application.
I think they're asking some of the questions off the application because I haven't had a NATS interview yet. Oh, I have like several NATS applications pending, but you know how that goes. It'll be like a year probably. Yeah. But my understanding is they're asking some of the questions even downstairs, and then when they go upstairs, they're repeating all the information.
Because that just seems very inefficient.
It's very inefficient.
Supposedly that's a pilot program that's going on right now, and we'll see what's going to happen. I have probably for the month of March, I have maybe like 8 or 9 appointments, like at immigration, and like 6 of them are at 8 a.m. and like, which is so hard for me when I have little 3-year-olds that just don't care about time. I could drop them at school, but I don't even know if that's gonna happen. So I have to have people in the morning, but yeah, I don't know. So it means we have to be at immigration at 7:30.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like and before,
it's like court.
Before it wouldn't have been like before. I wouldn't have an issue. Like I think like they would wait for you, but now if you're late and your client checks in, because I'm always like, don't check in until I tell you. If your client checks in or they then. And you don't get there, they're going to come out and tell your client they have to come in without a lawyer, and then the client's going to get freaked out. And so it's like scary.
I always tell my clients not to check in, and then they often don't.
Because 8 a.m. appointments, I'm like, that's so hard because I can't control like 3-year-old boys. Like they could be great, and like we can get to school fast, but for most part it's like 2 hours to get
do you
to school.
Do all your interviews, or do you just one of your
I do all of them. I mean, because everybody has small children. I'm the one who has to do it. Yeah, I mean, I can't ask them. I mean, I everybody's got to, I mean, if I can't do it, I have to ask one of them, but
you like to do them.
I pretty much go to everyone that are my clients, my origination clients. Like,
yeah.
I go to every interview that we have in Atlanta. And then if the client wants me to go somewhere else, then I'll go there. But otherwise I find counsel. I mean, because it's very expensive. So, also now we have employment-based interviews, which we didn't have before the Trump administration, which is probably causing all the delays that we're having right now. So
yeah, it's doubling it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Don't you have to travel some to Alabama and stuff for yours? Like I remember you saying you had several in Alabama.
I've gotten out of going to Alabama so far because I don't want to go to Alabama. But no offense to Alabama, but yeah, I've gotten out of going to Alabama. My clients actually didn't want to pay for me to go to Alabama one time, and then I think we had a NATS, and I said because it's certain places in Georgia go to Alabama now. So, but my clients were fine on their employment-based interview in Alabama. And I'm sure I'll probably end up going there at some point, but I need to charge for my time. I mean, that's because you have to drive, or I think another lawyer was like flying to Alabama, which that's fine. I could fly, I guess. But I have clients in California, which they want me to go to their interview, which is, I'm like, okay, I'll go to that one.
Yeah. LA,
California.
They're like in Orange County. I mean, they're like in a really nice area. Yeah, they're in a really nice area. But that one I need to go to because they are a lovely couple. But he is 65 and she is 28. So there's 29. So there's a big age difference there. but I have never talked to anybody, and I have no issue with the bona fide or of this relationship at all. But that could be an issue.
You want to make sure you're there.
Yeah, definitely be there. I mean, I was like, I talked to the guy on the phone. I'd never seen him, but I was like, he's just amazing. Like, and how much he just showers on and then they've been dating for quite a while. But yeah, it's like, I guess you find love. He is in love, and you can tell. It's crazy. But still, we've got to get through the immigration hoops. And what am I to judge, marriages? I do have one right now that I'm seriously questioning. I don't know if you guys. So, we do. I'm skipping over to another topic, but so I think everyone's seen. This is kind of fun to talk about, but it's it's also an ethical issues for attorneys. And I'd like to hear how you guys handle those things. So we've seen the movie Green Card, what the proposal, what other, and everything's like not reflected properly. I know on House he was marrying a Russian girl. House, I don't know if you remember that.
I remember the
series.
show, but I don't remember him marrying.
They did like all this photo shoot with all kinds of props, like Christmas and this and that. And then what other shows?
Well, there's the show, the 90-Day Fiance one. Fiance Visa.
But that's a reality show.
Reality shows.
I'm talking about like
movies.
But those are I think those are real. They're not going to have.
Yeah.
I think
they seem pretty. I've only seen parts. I don't really care to watch that stuff because
I haven't seen 90 Day. I haven't really
we do
watched
it in our job. I don't feel like watching.
Yeah,
this
but so there's
Married at First Sight. Yeah, those reality shows.
Yeah. The fictional shows that show the green card process. The proposal.
The proposal
is
is the only one. Well, the main one that I can think
proposal,
of.
green card. Back in the day.
With
the green, back in the day. But this officer's he's like, I just don't think that
flew to Alaska. Yeah. I told Brandon, my husband, I told my husband that would literally never happen. He goes busts into the barn or whatever.
I mean, there are investigations.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And there's definitely, so when a client walks in, and so for most of my career, okay, probably now I get a lot more, internet, because we're pretty, our Google comes up pretty high, so I get a lot of calls for Google, and I refer some of that out that I don't handle, but the marriage cases we can definitely handle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But now I'm like, do I need to up my screening for and how do you up screening if it's a brand new marriage? I guess the circumstances of the marriage, or maybe they're just getting married, or how do I ask these questions? Do I need to have certain things in place? Because I just had a situation with my clients where I really, either they're just young and stupid, or
could be. I
just couldn't imagine why this person would marry this person. They're the same age group, ethnic background, I guess. But one is highly educated, one is not, and then one has.
Well, was there an issue with the bona fides, or was it just that it didn't? There aren't.
There were just questions that I asked. I'm like, what are the? I mean, I guess unless he doesn't have any relationship with his children, she doesn't know the names of his children. Things like this, and I'm just like, they met, they got married really fast, and I've had that happen too, but. Yeah, it's just and I hate to start judging people's relationships and what they should look like.
Right.
And then where do you get to the point?
I mean, you do.
Where do you get to that point, and how do you? Because even if it's a new marriage, how do you? And you advise, I need all of this done.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But how do you really judge someone's choice? I mean, that's not my choice. What are the motives there? It doesn't make sense. I don't know. And then where do you get to a point where you would withdraw as an attorney? That's the questions I'm asking myself right now. And what do I need? And also it's an affront to me for someone to come into my office and lie to me.
Absolutely.
And try to commit fraud.
Well, and you have to worry. I think it's our job to protect our legal license. And we have reputations in court. We have reputations at USCIS. If I'm going to say with confidence something about you and I'm going to advocate for you, you better not have lied to me. Because
And I don't know. I don't
Of
know.
course.
It's like this is kind of on the edge where I just suspect. I'm just thinking because I've had issues in the past where, I had no idea that, maybe something wasn't, I had no idea all the way through and maybe found out like
at the interview,
no, found out maybe 5 years down the road that this was
after it was approved.
Yeah, that maybe it wasn't a real marriage or something like that, and I'm like, okay, well, what can I do now?
Right.
What are my ethical duties here, or what? And now I think that was like that was like maybe, but that was also a straight marriage, and maybe the guy turned gay, but I don't. Do I know like what people? I know I have a client right now. He was in a straight marriage, and now is married to a gay man. And I know that happens. So it's like those things, how do you judge, really? I can't,
Right.
That's
Well,
really
I
hard.
think it matters when you file.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, that could happen to any one of us. So you really don't know, as long as at the time that you're filing, everything looks
At the time
and
of filing,
feels and
it was brand new
documentation's
marriage,
legit.
so you don't have anything.
Okay.
So now we're a year later, and we're prepping, and I prep hard.
Yeah, us too.
So I ask the tough question. I mean, I'm not nice.
Good. You
Well, because you have to set them up for their interview.
You have to act like the officer.
You have to.
Have you separated them in your office before? I have. I get kind of intense.
These people, I just.
You're in the lobby.
Have you ever had? I've never even had a Stokes interview. So when people, not normally, as we're going back to the movies, they normally do not separate couples. That's occasionally when maybe there's a fraud suspected. So, all of my clients that are, of course they're bona fide. They have children. They're they're sending me letters from, they're just sending tons of documentation and they're like,
I know.
is this enough?
I rarely even get I-130 interviews anymore because I have so much proof.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I'm not, these are just adjustments. These are, I-130 concurrently filed I-45s, but so I've got, them, they're so worried about all this because of what they've seen. They're like, are they going to ask what her favorite color is or what her favorite food is? Because I asked her what her favorite food is and I didn't know or whatever. And I didn't know what that was. She's Chinese, he's American. He's like, are they going to ask me her parents' names? Because they live with us for 3 months, but
I have a hard time saying them. I know.
But I don't know their names.
Sometimes I wonder if I would pass a Stokes interview, truthfully, because the way that they...
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I remember one time I was in there and they were asking...
I think about that all the time. I think about that all the time.
I say, because Brandon has 3, and I think one is here. Is it here or here? It's like you see the man without his shirt off. How do you... But I still I get nervous. Like, how would I... The separation of the interviews and how personalized and detailed they get about the questions about whether you have a valid marriage, I wonder if I would pass.
But that's true because you just go through. I mean, you go through life.
I would
just
definitely pass. I don't know if he would pass.
Oh, you would.
I would pass with flying colors because I know everything.
Brandon may pass better than me. Maybe I'm just not observant. But I've had them ask who sleeps on what side of the bed, which, that kind of stuff, I feel like I know who sleeps on what side of the bed. What color the bedroom curtains are.
You have had that asked? I've never had anything like that.
You said you've never been in a Stokes interview.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's a Stokes interview.
Okay.
When they separate them, that was my cord. They ask, who takes out the trash? What'd you eat for dinner last night? Who'd you spend Christmas with last year? What'd you eat at Christmas last year? What did you get each other for your birthdays? What did you get each other for Christmas? They want to know... details to try to figure out if you really are doing life together.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that, your energy is obvious when you really care about someone. Now the nerves take over. So sometimes I have clients that I know it's a valid marriage, but their nerves I'm like, breathe. Please breathe because you're cold and neither of you look like you love one another. But The Stokes interviews get intense. But I do have them ask what color the bedroom curtains are, who takes out the trash, who cooks, who cleans what, or what's your favorite.
I believe I've never had one of those, but most of my like marriage-based cases have been, just been like referrals that are like employment, for many years were employment-based stuff.
Yeah.
And then now I'm getting more and then I had just one spook, like a couple of years ago. I don't know when it was, but the U.S. citizen got arrested at the interview. She had a warrant for her arrest.
You told me about that one. And it was the USC,
but I feel
she had a warrant.
She had a warrant, but she was in jail during the marriage, and he didn't know about it. So, but this was something I didn't file, and I just went.
Oh, I remember you saying that.
So, and I have another one that they came in to do, just wanted to I guess their lawyer was in Florida, and they wanted to just have representation at the interview. But that one, I'm like, oh, they're fine. I mean, they're in a couple's job. Like they have a couple's job where they, were recruited for a job where it needs to be a couple living on the premises and everything. So like they're definitely fine. But it's like, you worry. I mean, if you don't file the case, is it going to be, what am I going to look like? Because I don't want to go through that whole thing. Like they call in and arrest my client.
I've had one client arrested at an interview before because of a prior order. I was working at a larger firm then, and not for myself. And I went to the interview, and it was pretty traumatizing. I'm not going to lie. But in that day and age, too, things weren't quite as you're immediately getting put on a plane. We have no grace the way things are right now. And I was on the phone with ICE officers before I got to the office. I was screaming in the USCIS office, and then I was on the phone with ICE officers, and I said, told them his entire story, how many kids he has, USC kids, hardships in the family, medical issues, presence documents, whatever you guys need, I'll get it to you. They told me specifically what to fax to them, and they'd release him with a order of supervision, and then I got him a work permit. So I was able to do that. Of course, that was however many years ago. And I'm not at that firm anymore. I have no idea what's happened in that man's case at this point, or if the order's been reopened. I don't know if he's here with legal status or if he's been deported at this point. But it was traumatizing. And now if that happened, you're so much less likely to stay because everyone's a priority instead of people that have serious criminal records are a priority.
But I think going back to what we were speaking about as far as with marriage adjustment of status, with online dating nowadays.
Yes.
That's when you kind of question, okay, is this real? Is this not real? But then you have to think about all of the people who do online dating, fall in love in, a month. And
there's so many people.
You have to roll with it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many people doing online dating and that have met through online dating. I'm just trying to think. I've had tons. I'm trying to even think.
But the bona fides are still there, I feel like. Because then you've got text messages and...
Oh, yeah. You know when it's
true.
We know when it's a real marriage, right?
Well, so
that's why I'm having doubts in my heart about one certain case right now, and how to handle that moving forward.
Well, here's what I would say. Is if you, with your discernment that you have and the expertise that you have, if you feel like there's something off about it, there probably is. So do they live near? Or is it always a phone call?
No. They came into the office.
Is this the one that you were talking about where you didn't think or you didn't see how one person would be attracted or married or want to marry the other one?
If I was this person, a younger me, but I'm not from a different country.
Right, you can't let your personal bias influence.
And your values. And,
I can't imagine her socioeconomic status, probably has parents that are her education level.
Is she the beneficiary?
Yes.
Okay.
Her education level and all of that is, this would not be the life partner that I would choose. I don't care if immigration was involved. I mean, it would just...
Well, this is what I would do, just hearing what you're saying. I would bring them in. And I
can't go through that again. I already did that. We will. I mean, I have to bring it back.
Did you already like prep them almost for an interview and tell them the kind of questions that'll be?
I said,
that's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
You
and
warn,
then she sent
you
me,
explain.
and I was like, I need a timeline. I need everything. She hasn't gotten that to me. I just couldn't talk to her this week. Like we were all sick this week, so I think the interview is it next week? It's the following week.
Oh, you're fine.
So I have some time to like talk to them again, but I was like, I feel like it's not risen to the point. Maybe I'm just overreacting because I've already been traumatized.
Well, that's what it is. We're all overreacting to everything now because we're seeing so much pushback that I feel like I'm overreacting to every case.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no more balance.
Yeah. I'm just, I'm like worried about,
you're just being extra cautious. I mean, that's.
Well, I'm just thinking like we need to put some things in place and maybe not accept cases that. And it's like, but how am I really gonna know?
You don't know from the beginning. Things arise, things pop up.
I almost wish we didn't, but in a year, there's got to, you have to have certain things. So it's interesting to kind of like, and I've had, I had one case where, the lady was older and like way taller than the guy. Like way taller. Like she was just really tall. But I'm like, well, if you're 6'5", then, your dating pool's like really small.
It's very limited.
So I guess you got to go short or it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I don't know,
Elizabeth, you killed me.
I'm just trying to, we have to think about these things.
Right
okay.
Yeah.
Because who are you going to, and
you're both tall, right? I'm a shorty.
I mean, I'm 5'8". I'm not 6'5".
I'm just 5'5".
So it's like, but I mean, that's got to be tough. So I guess it just kind of goes out the window. And anyway, but
you do think though, I think one time in a FOIA, I got a document that's an internal checklist that USCIS uses. I remember seeing it at some point in my practice. I'm like trying to remember back. But it was like an internal checklist from USCIS that shit was for a marriage-based application. And they had kind of handwritten notes and little things they had checked off. And I remember them looking to see what they look like together. And they have a list of what the bona fides are their children together. It was like a little checklist. But I remember, one of them said age of petitioner, age of beneficiary, like the one you said you want to make sure. This is stuff that's obvious to us. But I definitely think, the USCIS officers are just humans. So they're looking at, she's a lot taller than him. I wonder if this is a valid marriage, which is ridiculous. But they're going to go through all of those little details. And now when you would think,
older, taller, like, and the guy wasn't impressive. I prepared. I mean, I let him have it in prep. Because he was like, came into my office kind of falling asleep. And I'm like, what? Are you in a night job or what?
This is serious business.
No, I let him have it.
I get really intense about the marriage.
I was like, you need to take this seriously.
Oh, it's really serious.
This is very serious. If you love her, care about her, you need to show up for her on this day.
And then you go in, sometimes you prep them like you are walking into fire. And then you get to the interview, they ask 4 questions and you leave and go, well, you were prepared just in case. Enjoy your lunch.
I know. Maybe I'm overreacting.
Well, I did the same thing for court. I mean,
oh, yeah.
Even going to just a master calendar hearing, I said, this happened, no matter what, I'm talking, this is what we're doing. Like, you over-prepare, and then the client's like, oh, that was all? That wasn't bad? I think I scare everyone.
Oh, right. Yeah. I know. And it's probably, I mean, I had an interview last week, and it's a very young couple. I mean, they're
early 20s?
They're like 20.
I love the young couple ones. They're
adorable. Just like 20, I don't know, 22, 23. But, she's just a princess, like she's beautiful and, and they're, I don't know, but she couldn't remember the day they got married. I mean, she was just like, oh my gosh. I don't know.
And you're telling them you have to know his birthday. You have to know when you got married.
Please at least know that, right?
I'm begging you.
But
know when you got married.
We just laughed anyway because it was like.
You can tell, though. There are certain people that you can tell.
Yeah.
Did I tell you? I think I told you one of the last times I was here, the cutest marriage-based interview I went to was for this really young couple. They were, I think, late teens at the time or early 20s. There were no bona fides pretty much because they were living with her family. So they didn't have bills addressed to them. They were even on the parents' phone plan. I mean, they were young kids, but they were so in love. And it was I'm still obsessed with this couple. They know it because despite me, I literally never Facebook friends with any clients. I am Facebook friends with them. I really love this couple. But anyway, we go to the interview and there's not a lot of bona fides except for albums and albums and albums of photos. And then they brought artwork, like a clay pottery from their art class that they made for each other, heart-shaped clay pottery from art class in high school. The woman we put all the evidence on the table at the beginning and she goes, "Are you guys serious right now?" Approved. We must have walked out in 2 minutes.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I've had one. I had one like that. They were like, he basically came in from Canada. They had met on a chat room, and they were like 15. Came over on a flight from Canada. They eloped. They were both like 18. Lived with her parents. He kind of like hid in the house because he's like, I don't know what to do, for 2 years, and then came to me. So there was no bona fides except for we went, like, the chat logs were voluminous back from age 15 forward.
Yeah.
And then we got into the interview and it's like, you know, and he'd had his work permit, he got a job, he started to look like, and they were both kind of overweight. I think they got like a little, you know, but they were definitely like in love. And it was just, but there was no evidence, you know, besides that one the plane ticket and like some pictures and the chats. But that was approved, no problem. And then I had one that basically we waited. My client was German and he was so mad because I was late. Elizabeth, this is the time. And I'm like, I think we're going to be fine. But, because he was just like, oh my gosh, very like, and we waited another 3.5 hours. And then we
trust me, we'll be waiting all day.
We got into the interview and they basically asked, I guess the officer reviewed, I think some of these awesome officers aren't there anymore, but reviewed the application already and was like, I just have one question. Is that, because they had a hawk at their wedding in Scotland or whatever. Like, you know, and it's like, what is this? And whatever. And that was it. And then we're like, done. Okay, you're approved. And we left. It was like literally 2 minutes.
I have one question. Is this a hawk?
I mean, whatever it was. I don't know. It was about the bird. It was about this photo. He's like, what is this photo? Tell me. And that was it. And, yeah. So, you know, there's been lots of interesting things. I'm sure it's like, I wonder what these officers like go home and talk about at the dinner table.
I know. They must have the craziest things.
Yeah. But that's kind of the interesting thing. And it's nothing like in the movies.
No.
At all. I mean, they never can get it right, can they? I always, like, whenever you see, they have the references to the immigration and, you know, all this stuff. They never quite get it right.
Yeah.
In the movies.
The proposal, though, at least the Stokes part, I mean, the officers are never that serious, and you're not in an interrogation room with, like, one light, and he's pointing, what's he allergic to, or whatever it was. It's like, what? But, so the Stokes interview are never that intense, but they do ask a lot of those questions. But, are we going to take a break?
She's taking a picture. So, yeah, I think we're about ready to take our break.
Okay.
And we'll come back and talk about, you know, we have some updates on employment-based immigration and other things. Be right back.